You're listening to Where You Live with Gene Sullivan.
Welcome back to Where You Live. I'm Gene Sullivan. I'm broadcasting from the True North Painting Studios. This show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency, and Extreme Exteriors. Before I get back to our discussion today about this City of Minneapolis ordinance that's being considered on feeding and the care of spay and feral cats in the city of Minneapolis, I want to let our listeners know we've got a free gift for you. We put together a bi-monthly newsletter called What's New. A lot of what we talk about on the show, we talk in further detail. People that you've heard on our show, we also have as contributors to that newsletter. It's yours free. All you have to do is give us a call during the week at New Concepts at 952-922-2500. Ask for Lori. She'll make sure that you start receiving your copy either electronically or by mail. This article from last Wednesday. What is more humane in dealing with stray and feral cats? Well, according to City Council member Cam Gordon, he wants to propose that there be a licensing to allow people to set up cat colonies and be able to feed and perpetuate the care of these stray and feral cats as long as you try to take them and neuter them. And the question I have, is this really the most humane way of going about things? I started out with the show, is it important when you're dealing with an issue to say, well, we've got to do something? Or is it important to say, we've got to do something right? We've got to get it right the first time. Wouldn't it be better, instead of proposing ordinance after ordinance, law after law, whether that be at the state legislature or even the federal government, instead of being so quick to put together another law, wouldn't it be a little bit more prudent to take a little more time to find out the facts, to get a little bit more information, and find out what's going on? And what's interesting in this debate, as I mentioned in our last segment, there are two camps. Those that are for this idea say, well, let's do it. And it's almost because you can tell and sense that they have this strong desire and love for cats. And I understand that. And I have the same strong feelings for pets that I've owned in the past and that my wife and I own now. And it's hard when you have someone who is a pet owner to try and diminish or cut them off from their feelings that they have for their pet. But is it really the best thing to do? It's interesting is all of the people who are the experts, the scientists, they all said that they think that this would be a bad idea. And I was quoting from the person who is with the Minnesota chapter of the Audubon Society, and she said, to trap, neuter, and release, these programs only perpetuate the problem. They don't take care of it. The gentleman who is with the American Bird Conservancy, his name is Mr. Sizemore. He said, programs like this, he said, I call it trap, neuter, and re-abandonment. Because he said, you're not getting at the ultimate source. And what is that ultimate source? All of the scientists and professionals have said the same thing. You need to get at the people, ultimately, who are responsible for releasing these pets and abandoning them in society and out in nature. That is where you need to go. And like I gave you the example, someone falls overboard. There's a problem. You need to get the person out of the water. You don't just do something and say, well, I'll start counting the life vests in the boat. That's doing something, but it does nothing to address the problem. And that's what a lot of the professionals are saying here. Yes, that may be doing something, but it's not doing the right thing. There was a study, and this is what I thought was real interesting, done by the Smithsonian Conservation Biology Institute. And they said that with stray and feral cats, and because of our love for pets and not wanting to see them harmed, not wanting to see them killed, stray and feral cats in I don't know if this in the United States are responsible for the extinction of 6 endemic bird species and over 70 localized subspecies, including birds, lizards, and mammals. The Smithsonian Conservation Biology Institute said on a yearly basis, about 3.7 billion birds are killed by stray and feral cats alone. Over 20 billion mammals are killed by stray and feral cats. But we have people who are because of their love for their cat, are asking people like Councilman Cam Gordon to say, we need to do something about it. We need to feed them. But Cam Gordon said he even realized that there was an issue. What was that issue? Because a lot of times when you just do something, you have what's called unintended consequences. And in this particular case, there are people in his ward that are already feeding feral cats, which has only made problems worse. What were some of those problems? They're attracting varmints like skunks and raccoons, and that's getting out of hand. It's interesting here, if you talk with any city, if they're talking about management of wildlife and issues that people have to deal with, issues of disease and not being attacked by what could be rabid animals, and the issues and problems that come with being able to have animals, I guess, always living that close in proximity with us here within the city. You've got a lot of issues. There are a lot of concerns, and here, instead of dealing with the issue, are we really opening the door up and causing something that's going to be even a greater problem with other animals that can't be contained? I think that animal control would tell a person right away, if you try feeding deer in the back of your yards by purposely putting up foods or salt licks, you could get fined because that is going to have a deleterious effect on nature and the balance of the environment. Same thing in feeding raccoons. I've known neighbors who have taken and set out dog food for raccoons to deal with, and then people having to deal with being bombarded with very angry raccoons in the neighborhood, and very aggressive in attacking people too, because they're doing this all because of their food source. Is this what's going to happen if you set up a ordinance with feral and stray cats? It's an emotional debate, to be sure. And like I said, I don't think the real issue here is in doing something, but in doing something correct. One last thing I'd like to, leave our listeners with on this topic here is that, if I could use another analogy, if you have a boat again and you're taking on water, and that boat is taking on 10 gallons an hour, and all your efforts in doing something is only allowing you to bail out 7 gallons of water an hour, you're dealing with the issue, aren't you? But are you dealing with it correctly? Would it not be a more prudent thing to maybe stop, even though the situation may continue to seem like it's increasing and getting worse, to stop and think about a solution that will work? And once you have the solution that will work, in this case, in the case of the boat, figuring out how to plug the hole, now you can begin to bail the water out and have success. And I wish our government politicians would do the same thing. Instead of being quick to say, well, I've got an idea, I've got an ordinance that we can author here and put into effect, wouldn't it be better to say, let's stop and take a look at the situation? And the situation here, according to the professionals, seem to be the same thing. Let's deal with the real problem, the root of the problem. That is dealing with the people who are letting the animals out to to release them and not take care of them? Aren't those the people that we need to deal with? I don't know what the answer is, but maybe the efforts and the ideas ought to be concentrated there. I think this idea of feeding stray and feral cats, it's not going to be a good idea, and ultimately it's not going to solve it. Or is it going to be good for those stray animals who are now going to have a increasing population, fending for a decreasing amount of resources of food, and you're going to still have some of the same ugly issues of cats dying and starving and not being taken care of, and that's not addressing the problem at all. Well, let's take a break right now. Don't go away. We've got one more segment of Where You Live after these messages.